Yes, then.
Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay. So, we saw that if you think from the standpoint of Satchidananda Atma, then actually there is no creation. So therefore, if you actually think about the whole reality, then you can't ask why creation, because this is what not undergone any change in the first place, right? So this is why. But this does have a potential. Why? Well, this is how it is, right? And this is why, and that potential does get manifest. And this is what the Jagat is. Okay? Now, so just as, what is the example? What was the example he gave?
There's a cockroach.
What? What's
Okay, there's also potential.
But I kill it, no?
What happened? Cockroach?
Not getting to my bag. Alex, eat it.
Alright. You become the Shiva for us.
Yes.
So you want to collapse this whole example. How can you collapse? He says, just like gold, without undergoing any change, it became all the ornaments, right? But in the case of Jagat, it's more complex, so we have to add more nuances. But in reality, the gold has never undergone any change, right? That's the example. The next, he gives yet another example. Yatha akashaha Rishikeshaha nana upadhi gataha viduhu tad bhedat bhinnavat bhati tannashe kevalaha bhave. Who will read the translation? Okay, Rajushi.
As space cannot be divided by objects or worlds, so is all pervading law of the senses, associated with various upadhis. Due to difference in upadhis, appears to be divided. But when upadhis is destroyed, understood as mithyas, it becomes one, free from all divisions or limitation.
Okay. So the first thing I will do is explain this simply, and then I will make it a little bit more nuanced. I'll use the word upadhi, what it means, and all of that. Right? The basic example is that, it may seem as though the space is divided. How I can call this bottle space, I can call that what? Yet another glass space. I can call this room space, I can call that outside space. So it seems as though there are many spaces. But in reality, how many spaces are there? There's one, right? So then why am I calling this bottle space, that room space, that glass space? Why?
For your reference?
Huh?
For your understanding?
Yeah.
Because I think it encompasses these.
Excellent, right? So that means it as though gives a visual effect that the space is encaptured by this bottle, and that is confining the space. This is why we call it what? Bottle space. And this is why we have what we call inside and outside, right? Inside this room, that means the space here, and then what we call outside space, correct? So now, so that is an appearance. The minute you open your eyes, it seems as though the space is divided, but in reality, there is only one undivided space. So, and still, in terms of our own transaction, we use bottle space, but what is the reality? Before the bottle was born, the space was there. After the bottle is born, is the space cut to create a bottle space? No, it continues to be what it is. After the bottle is suppose destroyed, is the inside space freed?
Space remains.
Exactly, it's continuous. It doesn't first, it's not born. Secondly, it doesn't get enclosed. And the third thing is it doesn't get freed. Even though visually it seems like that. Right? That the bottle space is born, it is confined, then it will get destroyed, right? But space is one. Now the second thing is very important, and that is not only the space is actually not divided by the objects. What is the reality? In one undivided space, all the objects exist. That is the reality. Right? Now the second thing is not only the space is not affected by how it seems to be enclosed. Suppose I think about what is inside this bottle. What is inside this bottle? Suppose I say it is Ganga water, right? And some other, it's tap water, right? And the third, it is Yamuna water. So it seems as though the waters are all different, and it's true that the waters are different. Something is either tap and something could be sewage water. So that means the water could be very different, but is the space contaminated or freed, purified by what is inside the bottle? Does it? No, it doesn't. So that means it's something all-pervading space seems to be confined and seems to what? Be contaminated or purified or whatever. But it all is happening, where is it happening? At the level of bottle is born, right? The bottle is filled with some liquid, but not, space is everywhere, it pervades everything, but it is unaffected by everything that is happening at the level of bottle as well as what is inside the bottle. Now, so how do you use this example to understand the final reality? This Satchidananda Atma, right? It seems as though it has become all the forms. But before the forms were born, what is Satchidananda Atma like space is there. As a result of being of the form, it seems as though your awareness is confined to this body. And when the body is destroyed, it seems as though the Atma goes away. Right? We are not talking about Atma as some traveling entity. We are talking now about Atma as what? Satchidananda Atma, like space. It is all pervading. It is one. So therefore, what it says is that neither the characteristics of the body touch the Atma. In fact, without Atma, bodies cannot be born. We saw, right? How are the bodies born? From the Satchidananda Atma, there is what its potential as all knowledge and all power. When that comes into manifestation, that is how one form is born, right? A body. So that means while all this is happening, what is happening to Satchidananda Atma? It is not affected, it is not getting confined either by the body, or what does the water represent? The water represents the mind. Even by the differences in the mind. So it's true, if you look at this water may be different from other water. This could be Ganga water, that could be Yamuna water, that could be tap water, this could be sewage water. So we are not denying the fact that there are different bottles and there are different things inside them. But what we are saying is space doesn't get affected by anything. So our problem is we take this, if you want to use the example, what is the mistake that we make? We give place to the space. What is the place that we give to the space? Bottle. And then it seems to be confined. I enclose it. Secondly, whatever is inside begins to affect the space, but it is actually never the case. So this is a visual example. Visual example of relationship of Satchidananda Atma with all the different forms. The forms are different. One body is different from the other. And one mind is different from the other mind. We are not trying to establish non-duality by either destroying the forms or by closing our eyes so that we don't see the forms. In spite of the forms, forms don't create duality. That is Advaita. If you understand proper relationships. So before every form is born, existence, awareness. So now it is what? How does the gold become ornaments? So before the ornaments were born, gold was. After the ornaments were there, gold is still there. After the ornaments go, gold is still there. Same. Awareness, Satchidananda Atma is there before a body and mind is born. While the body and mind is born, it seems to be enclosed, but in reality it is not. And after the body and mind dies, what happens? The awareness is exactly as it is. Nothing happens to awareness. So this is the idea. Now, we have to make it slightly more sophisticated because two words are used. Upadhi. In fact, one word is used, but we need to use two words to make it clear. Upadhi is one word. I think Grantha was telling me that it's so true that when we use all these words, I don't know in Bengali you use this word Upadhi or
Yeah,
not?
Upadhi actually means title.
Oh, in
surname.
Bengali?
Yeah, yes.
In Gujarati,
means
Upadhi
trouble.
means trouble. Upadhi avige. Right? Upadhi. Exactly. So that
Marathi
means
also it
when
means
we
title.
Yeah, even Hindi.
Marathi also
it
it
means
means
title.
title.
Okay. So this is why these are what we call technical terms. So this is why you have to listen to Vedanta to see what it means, because we use same words but they have different meaning.
So Indians have no advantage.
Sometimes slightly disadvantaged because you already have some meaning in mind and then you have to change it, right?
They only have to learn, you have to unlearn and
You have to unlearn and then exactly. Okay, so now what is this technical term Upadhi? There are two terms, Upadhi and Upahita. What is Upadhi? That which, as though, lends its attribute to something else. And Upahita is that which as though takes on the attribute of something else. What does this mean? There is a very simple example even in the Shastra. Suppose there is no crystal here. Okay, so let me use a bad substitute for it and I use this plastic bottle. Right? Now, suppose I put this cloth behind this plastic, and suppose this plastic was clear and it was not dirty and intransparent, but what would it seem like? What is the color of this bottle? What would it seem like?
Brown.
Brown, right? What is the reality? Is the bottle brown? No. What is brown? It's the cloth which is brown, but it is giving you an appearance as though the bottle is brown, right? So this is called upadhi. What is upadhi? The brownness which belongs to the cloth, it lends its appearance to the bottle, right? And the bottle is called upahita. It never has become brown, but it appears as though has taken on the attribute of brownness without ever being brown. Right? So that means upadhi and upahita. Now you have to apply this example to see what is upadhi and what is upahita. What is upahita? Excellent. What is upahita? Very good. Very good, Karl. Okay. Brahman is upahita and upadhi are all the forms, as it says. What does it mean? That the Brahman, Brahman itself is just existence, awareness, and it is limitless. The forms come about, and what happens is form lend their appearance to Brahman. So what happens is we don't see Brahman at all, we only see so, but has the Brahman become all those forms? Never. It's always free from the forms. So that means just as the crystal, suppose, can take on so many different colors, right? Suppose imagine a crystal and I put red, it may seem as though the crystal is red, right? Then I remove the red cloth and I replace it by orange cloth. Then what you will think? That the crystal is now become orange. Then you take it out and you put black, you think crystal is black. In reality, crystal is always clear. It neither became brown, nor it became red, nor it became yellow, nor it became black. It belonged to what? The cloth. So cloth as though lent its attribute, not really, as though lent its attribute to the crystal, which was always clear. So as Karl says, all the forms become upadhi. Why? Because it seems as though the world is full of forms, but in reality, what is there is only one Brahman, which has never changed. So that means Brahman, without changing, it as though takes on the attribute of all the forms. That's why when you see the world, you don't see Brahman, you see only forms. So forms are upadhi and Brahman is upahita. Okay? And one thing, the second thing that we need to understand is, what is the location of this awareness? What does this example of space, what does it tell you about location of awareness? When you do Drit Drishya Viveka, right? And you say, I am not the mind, but I am the awareness which enables me to see what is going on in the mind. You may still think that it is one little awareness out there, which is looking at the world, is looking at my body, is looking at the mind. But that awareness is like space. What does it mean? It is all-pervasive. It is everywhere. Why is it everywhere? Because it is truth of Ishvara. Ishvara is everywhere. The minute you understand that Ishvara is everywhere, and if awareness is the truth of Ishvara, automatically it becomes everywhere. Right? Wherever Ishvara is, its truth is. Wherever ocean is, its truth water is. This is why wave is water. So this is, it says that this awareness is not confined to any location. So the bodies are many, the minds are many, but awareness is one, like space. Okay, next example.
Just one Upahita, just a bit clarification.
Okay, what is it that you don't understand?
So over here Upahita will be Brahman,
Yes,
and for in the bottle example it will be the bottle.
excellent, super, very good. And in the crystal example it will be crystal, right? And what would be Upadhi, Savita?
The cloth.
Excellent. Now, this particular thing, so that means now coming to the world, why he's talking about is not just different cloth. The world consists of so many different forms. So the next verse is talking about that. It says, Nana upadhi vashat eva jati nama ashramadayaha atmani aropitaha toye rasa varnadi bhedavat. Who wants to read the translation? Yeah, please.
The idea of caste, color, position, etc. are superimposed upon the Atma because of its association with different upadhis. Just as in water, which is colorless and tasteless, or superimposed, differences like color, taste, etc.
So that means, what is the example? The water, let's see for example, water may appear, suppose you are drinking Coca-Cola, it will appear as black in color. Suppose you are drinking Miranda, orange. Suppose, what is a lemon drink? Limca. Yeah, what does it appear as? White. Greyish white, right? So now, what is the real color of water? Colorless. Right? Water is colorless. So this is the example. So what it means is, in the first example that I showed you, how is it making it little bit more sophisticated? Because in the first example I showed you, for example, here, as Savita said, here Upahita was either bottle or a crystal, or it was sky, right? The space. So not sky, space. Or what was the final example I gave?
Brahman.
Okay, right? And these were upadhis. And in this examples, this bottle and crystal, what were the upadhis? Cloths. Now, with reference to Brahman, it is not as simple as cloths, right? The forms are so many. And this is why, and there are differences between the forms, right? And these forms can be divided into what? Jati. So what does it mean? Jati, it has several meanings. What is the first meaning? Jati actually means a group. So that means, in fact, it can mean something very simple. A human being group is a form. It is human. Is different from?
Animals.
Excellent. Animals. Animals is different from?
Plants.
Plants. So please don't think that there is only one uniform forms. In fact, there are all these different forms which give infinite variety in the forms. They are all belonging to different jati. They are all different groups. Okay. Then what is varna?
No, ashram.
Ashrama. So ashrama is what Rajoshik was saying the first time, right? That in the whole Indian tradition, suppose you take one group, human being. Human being's life itself is divided into different stages. And each stage has a corresponding duty. So this is what we call ashrama system. What is ashrama? So you have brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is your time. When you're born, what is your job? the way you are placed in the world, your job is to learn, to study, to kind of, get to know the world a little bit, develop your social skills, develop your other skills, right? This is what we call brahmacharya. Then you have a second ashrama, we just saw. They moved from brahmacharya to grahastha. What is grahastha ashrama? We just saw yesterday. That they came together and they became householders. Householders, wow, they get a new name. They have to hold the house.
Now they get the house also.
So that means in that stage, what they were supposed to do in the previous stage, the duties and responsibilities have changed. You can't continue to be the same person anymore. That means the flow of life takes you to a different stage of life. So that means then you have to think about earning, then you have to think about progeny, you have to think about, like what exactly, how you want to live. You also have to think about what do you want to contribute, because you have only been learning and learning and learning up to now, but now the time has come for you to participate in the world. So what kind of participation I want? So this is all a kind of grahastha. So that means that different stages of life have different corresponding duties and responsibilities. So brahmacharya, then grahastha. Then you have the third stage, which is an interesting stage in this ashrama, which is called vanaprastha. Vanaprastha is living a life, of a householder, earning, producing, having children, all of that, and living in life, being successful. It gives you a lot of experience, and it's supposed to nurture you, and it's supposed to you are supposed to grow with the experiences, you are supposed to become wiser. And one of the indication of your wisdom is that what you recognize that in spite of, like it happened to Arjuna, in spite of everything that I haven't really got what I am really looking for. It's not a problem of a loser, it's a problem of a high achiever. You have got everything. The high achiever doesn't mean, it means the person who is nurtured, who is nourished, relatively by the world. So that means then you have to reflect. You need some time to reflect. You can't just keep on infinitely going on engaging in the world and So that is a time for you to reflect on the experiences and what these experiences actually tell you about life. This is what we call vanaprastha, a reflection time.
So traditionally
Traditionally-
vana means around the village.
There
There will be some
they would
little
retire.
wood or some forest area. So he will be near still to the village, but he will be a little bit isolated at the same time. He or she. Okay?
So in Mahabharata, it is a nice story, right? After the war was over, then this Pandavas were the king. Then slowly, everybody started retiring. Kunti went to the forest, Vidur went to the forest. They all went, and the time was over. It's not like they died in the palace or anything. They all retired into the woods.
Farmhouse.
Farmhouse. In the modern context, yes, farmhouse. When you begin to reflect on what is life telling me, not just going on living endlessly, right? And then the final thing is what we call sannyasa. Sannyasa, actually we think that it is leaving everything. But in reality, sannyasa pursuit actually refers to what? Recognizing that the only thing that can really solve my problem is knowing my true nature. And devoting time to knowing your true nature. That is what we call sannyasa. Samyak nyasa. You're not just leaving everything because you are disenchanted with the world. You're not leaving everything because you find the world meaningless. You're leaving everything because after examining your experiences, you recognize that my real search is my own true nature. And I cannot waste this human birth in just pursuing small things and miss this whole big opportunity that is given to me as a human being to figure out what am I here for, what is my nature, what is the nature of the cause, what is my relationship with it. This sannyasa is not just leaving the world, it's about what? Reflecting on these critical things, which is an answer to your final freedom. Right? So this is what he says. Now all this, where does it happen? In Brahman? No. In Upadhi. Right? Upadhi is a form. So any human being will have what? Divisions called jati, will have divisions called ashrama, and the other one is what?
Nama.
Nama. Yeah. So everybody has a jati, nama, ashrama, dayaha, and therefore what they belong. They are not negating, but where do they belong? To the forms. Atma is free from all these different things. Right? So that means neither you can say all these things don't exist, nor you can impute it on Atma. So Vedanta is seeing what is there. Crystal is clear. The color belongs to the cloth. You are not trying to convince that there is no color. If you try to convince yourself that there is no color because there is non-duality, then that is not non-duality that Vedanta is talking about. The jati, dharma, all these ashrama, it is there, but it belongs to forms and not to Atma. Upanishad is always free. Is it clear? Yeah.
Is it right to say that Upadhi takes place in Ishvara?
Upadhi takes place in Ishvara. So why do you use these kind of, see, Upadhi is a technical term. Technical term means it is showing, what is the meaning of this? Meaning is that which appears to, what? Appears to lend its attribute to something else. So why do we ask the question, is that which appears to lend its attribute to something else, is it in Ishvara? Why do we ask this question? Please don't make your usage of Sanskrit technical words have to be precise. They are all given for a given purpose. What is an easy way to ask this question? What is an easy way to ask this question?
In all words.
All these forms exist.
Super. Please make your life easy. Excellent, Shona. It's very easy. This has a technical application to make you see some relationships. Don't start using the form as upadhi. That's not. Form is a form. But you want to understand the relationship of form with Brahman. So a given prakriya is given. What is the prakriya given? That form makes Brahman appear as with forms. But you don't need to use that upadhi word. When you use it, as Shona very rightly says, you have to use it simply. What is the simple word? Every form exists, what? Is a manifestation of Ishvara. Why does it become upadhi? You have to ask yourself, why does it become upadhi? Why does a form become upadhi? Because it covers the nature of Atma. Get simply understanding, this whole Vedanta requires precision. Precision, otherwise what will happen? You accumulate a lot of all these technical terms and you go on using it like wherever. And it becomes more of a load than clarity. So you don't want to further load your mind with technical terms. Technical terms are very critical because they show you a certain relationships. But you use it to see those relationships. You don't start using it, don't replace form with upadhi. Why is form an upadhi? Because it has to lend its attribute to Brahman. So therefore you don't see Brahman as it is, you see only the form. Do you understand? Suppose you now don't mistake. For you Brahman is Brahman, then that form is no longer an upadhi for you. Why? Because it doesn't lend you to the same mistake. Do you understand? So therefore, be totally, these words are very, very used in a specific context. Don't start using, oh, this is Maya. Maya is a very specific, it's a potential for that final reality to manifest. Don't just use it anywhere. It is meant for you to understand a given relationship. Right? So that means our teacher used to always make fun of us. He says, now suppose, right? You come to this Vedanta and you come to Vedanta's thinking that you are body and mind. Now Vedanta shows you are what? Brahman. Right? Now, you have to change. Now said this body is going out. You need that? You need that? You don't need it. So that means, otherwise what will happen is, your whole way of talking will change. And no, everybody will think, which space are you coming from? It's like, what is here? So that means, talk as normally as possible. Your clarity comes from your understanding the relationships. Everything has to be totally clear. Your clarity doesn't come from or using all these words just wherever. So therefore, this upadhi is only with reference to this form has come, but it has acquired one more characteristic. What is the characteristic? It hides from you the nature of Brahman. Why? Because Brahman as though takes on the attribute of these forms. So what happens is, you don't see Brahman, you see only
Then Brahman is confined to one particular body.
that it seems as though.
It seems to acquire a dimension, a color. It seems to acquire a certain quality which belongs, for example, to the mind. Brahman appears to be intelligent or dumb or mechanical or whatever, and so on. So all the attributes and qualities that you can see in all these forms, they are
Attribute.
too.
So what does it mean? Simple, right? Simple. So when I say, somebody asks, who are you? So I say, I'm Neema, suppose. How old are you? I'm this many years old. Then all these are what, if I think that they belong to form, then this form is not an upadhi. But because, suppose I think this is finally me, then this form becomes an upadhi. Why? Because it is hiding from me my true nature. Is it clear? Yeah? Okay. So that means the forms have characteristics. Atma doesn't have characteristics. Like the water is clear, all the colors belong to some colors, not to the water. Okay, next. Panchi Kruta Mahabhuta Sambhavam Karma Sanchitam Shariram Sukha Dukhanam Bhoga Ayatanam Uchyate. Okay, now this next question is, how did, you can't just tell me, it's true that ultimately it is all knowledge and all power, but how did this given form come about? Right? So that means the given form, let's say human form. So there are several models through which this process is explained. The one that we used is what? Quantum physics. We said that this human body is nothing but cells. Cells are nothing but atoms. Atoms are nothing but particles. So that means it's not like all knowledge and all power just kind of brought this form. It had series of steps. Right? Now here, a Vedic model is a different model. It uses another model. So this all knowledge and all power used what we call 5 elements. This is what we call, who was asking sometime, Bhuta, Pancha Mahabhuta. There are 5 basic elements. This body is a composition of 5 elements. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. So this is the 5 elements. It's not just, this is why we say it's like a levels of organization before you get to a complex form like a human form. Okay? But they are all permutations and combinations of these 5 elements. What is it? Space, air, water, fire and earth. So this is the final. So if you use quantum physics, you will have another model which is atoms and particles. If you use a Vedic model, then it is these 5 elements. It doesn't matter which way you use, because the purpose of this is not to just give you details about this. Yes, it does give you details, but the purpose is to show you what is Ishvara and what is Brahman. That is the purpose. Right? Not to get caught in details of the forms and keep on knowing this and that. That's not the purpose. This is why different Upanishads use different prakriya to describe these forms. One will use 3 avasthas. In Mandukya Upanishad, Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti avastha. In Taittiriya Upanishad you use Kosha. In some you use this Pancha Mahabhuta. The point is, what is the point? Point is not to give you details about that, but to show you how there is a complex organization. It doesn't mean from all knowledge and all power, all of a sudden one human being is going to come. It is a result of some things coming together. And the same things with different permutation and combination will give rise to yet another form. And this difference, so all these differences in form are actually basically from the same 5 elements. But how is it different? Because the permutations and combinations are different.
Please repeat those 5 Sanskrit words for us.
Okay, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi.
And Prithvi.
It means earth. That
And
Apaha is water.
So air, water, fire, earth,
Space. Yeah. So now let's see how even though it's a different model, it does have some validity. How does it have some validity? It definitely has validity. If you look at your body, then in itself, how do you find space element in your body? Sorry? Okay. So that means in your stomach there is some space, that's why you can insert some food. That's good example. Close to lunchtime. So he's thinking about food, right? The second thing is that the body itself exists in space. The third thing is every organ has its own position. So that means this is located here, this is located here. This priest yesterday was saying he is sciatica. What has happened? Slight misplacement of the nerve. It was supposed to be here and it has moved inches, not even inches, right? How much has it moved for sciatica? You don't know. So what it means is that it deviates a little bit from its space, and what happens? For you it's grueling pain. So that means every nerve in your body enjoys a given space. Every organ has a given space. So this is what we call, the whole body is arranged, different parts, all these neurons and the electrons and pathways, the whole thing is in space. Not only externally it is standing, but here also every organ is within space, arranged within space. Akasha, Vayu. What is Vayu? Air. Obvious, right? The body, how long? Suppose who is good at pranayama here? Many yoga people. Shona is good at pranayama. All the new talents are coming out. Okay. Shona, how much can you hold your breath without taking back? How long?
35 to 40 seconds.
25 to 40 seconds. So that means not even 1 minute. This body constantly requires air in order for it to survive. So the air which is outside is called Vayu. When it enters inside you, it has some specific functions. It is called prana. Because without which the body cannot be alive. So that means this whole air that goes in, it does so many functions. What is the function it does? The whole respiratory system is an amazing system. It constantly takes the air, and that oxygen is used to purify your blood, all your organs to work, everything. And after all the toxics, what does it do? It takes out in form of out-breath. So therefore, this air is very essential part of your body. Then, what? Apaha, Agni. Agni, where is Agni? Jadhara, stomach. Your temperature, all this is Agni. Right? So, the food that you take, it has to be digested. Only after having digested, the food thing that you take is broken down into the nutrients. And the nutrients are something that the body absorbs. So, this is what we call Agni. There is what we call externally we cook the food, and then internally we yet another go through one whole process of cooking and disintegrating and extracting from the food the nutrients that the body needs. This is what we call fire. Without fire, it is not possible. Apaha, water. Water, anybody will tell you, what percentage of your body is water? Almost 80. What are the doctors? What percent?
2/3.
2/3. No, the body is 2/3 water. This is why what people do is, so somebody was telling me yesterday, or I don't know what, that suppose you want to lose weight, where do you go? Sauna and steam, the fastest way. What happens? It gets rid of your water, excess water. Then what? Then you are lighter. For how long?
Yeah, excited also.
So this is what we call water. The water, this is, so the body is nothing but water, and finally earth. What is earth? All your bones, all your the muscles, your skin, all of this is earth.
What is the name for earth?
Prithvi. So that means this is not just that all knowledge just kind of arranged, popped out a body through these 5 elements and different permutations and combinations. It brought about this human form. So what it wants to do is, suppose a human being is inquiring. What is happening? The human being thinks, I am this. What it is saying, hey, you are that. You are that Brahman. How did this body come about? It is Ishvara, which arranged all these 5 elements in a way that this body came about. Right? Then, there is not this body is not only the physical body, but it also has the subtle aspect. So the next verse is explaining. Okay, now, why is this body created? This verse also is talking. Now, there are 2 things which are talked about here, and this is very important. Why is it that each one of us is given a different body? The forms are all different. Right? All forms give a rise to they hide Brahman. Right? Because we only see forms, and we don't see. So I, which is the real Upahita, as though becomes as good as the body. Right? I am Satchidananda Atma, but due to this Upadhi, this form comes and it hides from me the real nature of Atma, and I begin to think I am this body. Now, each of us takes our body. Why? First of all, each one of us are born with different bodies.
The result of our past actions.
Okay, wonderful. So that means it is what we call good karma sanchita. So this is what Tal is saying, that every body has a cause, right? You can't have a causeless effect. So it has a cause. Each one of us has a different cause which gives you Sita Devi's body, she has, my body I have, Prema has her own body. Everybody has their body. And what is this? What it's like Ishvara is throwing some, okay, let me make him beautiful and handsome and let me. That itself is what is a result of your karma. Karma means there are some causes. The causes are not only karma, please don't think, but there are what? Multiple causes. Genetics, so many biological causes. Even your physiological, there are so many people, and psychological causes. There are some people who I knew them as kids and they were so good looking. Now when I see them, they are all... It's true? Or the other way can also happen, right? You're born as somebody ordinary, but as you grow up, you have, you look elegant, you look beautiful. It's possible. And so that means there are all multiple causes.
I'm just laughing because I say that's why Indian men want fair, beautiful girl. They want to pass on better causes.
Better causes. Inference.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one. That's a clever one. Okay. So, therefore, each one of us is born because of our own karma. That means we are given that given body. So that means what over a period of time, you also have to, so much of our discomfort also belongs, or comfort, relative comfort belongs to our body. You have to experience your backaches, you have to experience your whatever, right? Eyes reducing its power. So we all have to, this is what we call sanchita. Your karma will give you not only external experiences, but also experiences with reference to your body. Old age, disease, these are all experiences that you have to go through your body.
Does this include diseases also?
Yes.
Cancer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This is sanchita.
It is, well, I have not, it's a not, yeah, okay. So then so there are some causes, let's leave it at that. What exactly are the causes? Because then we will go even further, okay? So let's, yeah.
So I'm just thinking here, when it says karma sanchitam,
Yes.
it says assembled by one's own past karma. Now past karma could be in this life, by the actions that I've performed till this age. But what do I interpret it? Past karma could be reincarnation.
So I was trying to avoid his
sorry.
No, that doesn't matter. Now that it is said, I'll say it. Okay, now there are too many questions, so okay, let me talk about it. Right, so that means before the body is born, so we are talking about what? The body has not yet made its own causes, right? The body has, so that means we are talking about the causes which lead for this body to be born in a given way, right? So we are talking about past causes. So we are talking about past causes. So what it means is, now we have to re-understand karma, action. Every action that we do has twofold consequences. Every action that we collapse, we come with a capacity to choose, and depending upon the choices that we have made, I think in one satsang, Matthew asked this question, what are the consequences? When I choose the karma, what are the consequences? So there are two kind of, any action that you choose here, there are two kinds of consequences. One is what we call drishta phalam, And the other one is called Adrishtaphala. What does it mean? Drishtaphala means that it is seen result. And the Adrishtaphalam is called the unseen result. What does it mean? Suppose I was good to somebody, right? I helped that person out, I was kind to that person. There is a seen result. What is a seen result? Which is the immediate feedback from the universe. Without anybody else telling me anything, I will feel good. Whether anybody knows it or not. This is why so many people do this, anonymous charity. Anonymous charity means nobody knows who gave this. So why would that person do it? Because nobody knows that this person has given. The person feels good. The person feels good giving. So this is what we call immediate feedback from the universe about the nature of your action. You feel good. You feel noble. You feel compassionate, that you feel connected. So many subtle benefits. This is why in Samaveda they have this beautiful chant which our teacher used to love. Setus taraha dustaran danena adanam taraha. What is this? Setus tara means cross the bridge, which is hard to cross. Dustara. Dustara means it's hard to cross. What kind of crossing? He says, you want to cross from being stingy to being giving. How do you cross it? It's hard. Being totally selfish to being connected. How do you do it? It's not going to just happen. So what he says, you have to start giving. So that means danena adanam tara. Means you have to start giving, and by giving only you can cross over your tendency to hold. There is no other way. You can think and think and think and nothing happens. You have to start doing it. So that means that doing anything will give you twofold benefits. One is you will feel noble. Please don't think you are giving to others only because of others. Yes, because of others, but also for yourself. You will feel noble, you will feel connected, you will develop compassionate qualities, you will become noble. That is your growth. But not only that, the universe will also compensate for you. Where in one is Drishtaphalam, I feel good, that is compensation from the universe, which is immediately experienced by me. And the second one is Adrishtaphalam. Adrishtaphalam means sometime in the future. So yesterday Rajoshi came to me and he says, cause and effect relationship can have time lags. This is exactly Adrishtaphalam. Adrishtaphalam means that I do something today, doesn't mean just today. Of course, today itself I may receive the reward in form of a Drishtaphalam, but there is a future reward. So that means there is a mechanism in the universe to kind of collect your Adrishtaphalams. The results which have not yet given you fructifications. One has already fructified in form of your experience, the others have not yet fructified in form of an experience, right? So that means this is what we call karma account. What is a karma account? All the unseen results of your own actions which are in your account, and they are there for not just one lifetime, they are there for multiple lifetimes. The whole account is what we call sanchita karma. Samyak chitaha. What is samyak chitaha? This collected, chitaha here in this case is collected. But how is it collected? Samyak, very well collected. What does it mean? It means that all the intricacies are captured. Suppose different intricacies are captured. Suppose 3 people make, now I'm taking giving, so let's say, donation of 100 rupees. All of them have done the same, right? But one person is a millionaire, the other one is, whatever, some, how do you say, thousandaires. The other one is lakhair, right? So that in India we have these expressions, right? So that means somebody has millions, somebody has some 100,000, and the other one has 10,000. Each one has given same amount. Will the result be the same?
No. Related to what they have.
Exactly. Related to what they have. So that is what we call samyak chitaha. Not just, that's why it's Ishvara, it's not mechanical laws.
And
They are intricate. Second, suppose 3 of them give and they all have similar financial means. One gives because the one wants the welfare of the other one. The other one gives because he or she wants to be recognized as a giver. And the third one gives because I want to give right now, but I have a whole plan of taking back in the future in some other form. So that means the financial capacities are the same, but the intentions are totally different. This is what we call Sarvagnaha Sarvashaktiman Ishvara. You can't escape Ishvara. You try to be smarter than Ishvara, try. So therefore, this is what we call Adrushta Phalam Samyak Chita. What are your intentions? How are you giving? Same, it's not only money. Any help that you give is like that. Any transaction you do with the world, whatever your actions are, all of this is taken into account before you are given the Adrushta, unseen result. So they are all collected. You have a question?
Yeah, and you tell me if it's not, for me it's related, but if it's too of the...
then I will not.
So I think I have followed more or less so far, but there must be a step that I'm missing, because we are more than our body and mind. We are also this awareness. So for me this awareness is infinite. So how come when our body and mind disappears, it's exactly, that small part of awareness which goes, awareness is infinite. So what I don't understand is why, in a way it's still the same. Why it's like the pot. If we are clay, if once the pot is destroyed, if it goes back to the clay and you make another pot, it won't be exactly the same clay. There is something I need.
So that means this is why the pot clay example, see the real life example is a little more complex than the pot clay obviously. But here what we are saying is, this is what is the difference, as I had told earlier, that the pot does not have any Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira means no capacity to transact with the world. So therefore it is inert. So inert object doesn't have any karma. But when you are a conscious being, when you come with a mind, then you have choices, you have faculty of choice. That's how pot is different from human being. And the minute you collapse choices, what will happen is there are consequences. What kind of consequences? One consequence is felt immediately, the other consequence is collected. So this is why what we call moksha is getting out of this cycle of birth and death. Because as long as you think that you are this individual, you are performing actions, you are subject to unseen result which will keep giving you different bodies. That is a connecting link. With these karmas will keep giving you, this is the verse, the karmas will keep giving you different bodies until in one lifetime you ask yourself, am I this individual or am I something which is much more? This is why we say we are all born with avidya and we are born with adhyasa. If you remember my verses, You are born not knowing your true nature. And because of this not knowing true nature, you have adhyasa. What is the adhyasa? The characteristics of forms are taken to be characteristics of I. And we live with this adhyasa. And as long as we live within this adhyasa, this is what will happen. If you want to know the truth, what will happen? You will discover yourself as not this small individual, but this much bigger reality. But for this, you need to be what? Mumukshu. You need to have eligibility. All this was the first verse. So therefore, until you don't remove your avidya, there is a journey. After you remove this avidya, ignorance, then there is no journey. Then you are awareness. This is why years and years can go by and you never remove this error about who you are. And you still remain a small person. Small person means you still are dependent upon the world for your well-being. In that transaction, you don't quite understand what is what, so you get your own sukha and dukkha, your own all experiences which create sometimes happiness, sometimes sadness. That whole cycle will go on and on and on and on. So moksha is removing that avidya. Until then, don't pretend as it's awareness, but you don't know it. So you are within avidya and you are within adhyasa. So what we are trying to do through this knowledge is to make you see the reality as it is. So that means you don't operate within avidya and adhyasa. Ignorance and subsequent superimposition, wrong superimpositions. Is it clear?
No.
Okay, but then think about it. Now, please, no more other, because otherwise what will happen? What is it? Okay.
I was just wondering if there's any kind of glossa for Vedic Sanskrit words, if you know, if there's something like a book or a glossa.
I have one.
Okay. Okay. So, it doesn't matter. So what we have to see is that now what we are talking about, this form has come about, and this form has come through these 5 elements. If you knew it, you will not be studying here. So then what does it mean? There is avidya. As simple as that. Right? You don't know. If you knew it, why should you be sitting here? Right? So, this human that you think I am is actually nothing but 5 elements. Now, the thing describes why have you come with this given body? Why have you come? Because of this adrashta phalam, the unseen results of your own karma, which are in your account, but at the same time they haven't yet fructified. So now, in this, so how will you experience the unseen result? You have to have a bhoga ayatana, some entity which is able to experience the result of these actions. Without an entity, you can't experience the result of the action. So the body is given to you for you to experience the result of the actions that you perform, which are not yet fructified. Right? So this is so this given body comes. This is why everybody's karma is different, and therefore people assume different bodies. Now through this body, what are you supposed to do? That unseen results get fructified. How do they get fructified? Situations arise in your life. So that means, how come Sita Devi's living in Cologne has very different set of experiences than I have? Who decided that? That is all part of this arrangement. You sitting in France have a totally different experience. You living in Paris will have different experiences from somebody who lives in Nice. It's amazing. In one city we all live, in Bombay. And yet each one is living in their own world. It's incredible. Then you feel, okay, the families are different. Within one building in Bombay, each one has their own story. They all have similar socio-economic background. but they all have different stories. Within one family, they all have same parents, same socio-economic background. And what is a totally different life and very different interpretation of what is going on. One can say my parents were very loving, the other person can say my mother didn't like me. Everybody feels differently. So that means, again, infinite bodies and infinite experiences out there. So therefore, this is what we call the unseen results. What accounts for it? If the universe is intelligent, what accounts for all these differences? Not just random. It is this whole unseen result. Now, so that is what we say, this body has come for what? From Sanchita Karma, that's what accounts for differences. And what it is? Sukha Dukkhana Bhoga Ayatana. So that means through which you will go through experiences, and those experiences will give you what? Sukha, happiness, and dukkha. Dukkha means some difficulties, some afflictions, some challenges it will give you. Okay? Now, this form, so, now, this physical form in itself cannot give you all the experiences necessary. So it needs what? Sukshma Sharira. It needs a subtle body. So until now, when we did the thing about a human physical body, and we reduced it to cells, atoms, particles, we had not yet talked about Sukshma Sharira. This is still about Sthula Sharira, which is the physical body, gross body. Okay? Now we are talking about something totally different. What is the totally different thing? That which makes the body alive. What is that? It is called Sukshma Sharira. The next verse explains what is Sukshma Sharira. Pancha prana mano buddhihi dashendriya samanvitam apanchikruta bhutaha tham sukshmangam bhoga sadhana. Who wants to read the translation?
Five prana, the mind and intellect, together with the 10 senses combined, formed from the subtle elements, is a subtle body, the instrument of experience of pleasure and pain.
Okay. So that means that this form contains something else which enables it to transact with the universe, and that is what we call Sukshma Sharira. What does Sukshma Sharira contain? So first of all, why is it called Sukshma Sharira? That you need to know, right? Because there is a whole big parallel spiritual world where it's all about what we call something subtle. That can include aura, that can include some chakras, some theta, some waves in your brain, or I don't know, it can include so many things which can be fixed. So that is not what we are talking about here. When the Vedic people talk about Sukshma Sharira, they are very factual. They are not into some imagination. They are just talking about something which is very, very understandable. What do we talk about when we talk about subtle body? Pancha prana. What is pancha prana? So that means the external physical air, when it enters your body, it does what? The pranic functions. What are the pranic functions? Inhaling keeps the body alive. Not only that, it will get your circulatory system going. Then your digestive system working. Your excretion system also working, because whatever is taken in as digestion is absorbed by the body and the rest is discarded. It's a circulation, digestion, inhaling, exhaling, and the final thing is what we call the last prana. Excretion also, but also some people include what we call last prana. Last prana means when your body is declared no longer alive. What has happened? So I'm sure there are doctors here, but there are doctors who come to my class and they tell me all the time. They say that, until the body is alive, they are all focused and they are trying to keep it alive. The minute it is declared not alive, they all pack up in seconds. And you don't even see exactly what has happened. So she always is like, what? From one breath to no breath. You don't see anything really. You don't physically see anything. You only can see what? The body is unable to breathe anymore. They say they all leave all their gloves and everything. The nurses come, the nurses try to clean up the things. The relatives are like busy calling everyone. The whole relationship with the same body changes in seconds. Prana. Last prana, out.
There's a doctor who wrote a book, From Breath to Air, in that one moment.
From
breath to air.
Exactly. No longer breath, just external air. It's true. So that means this is what we call the function of Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira means it's subtle. What is subtle? You can't see the prana leaving. That's why it's subtle. It's not available for your five senses. But can you say, because it is not available to your five senses, it is not there? No, it is there. So, Pancha Prana, then Manaha. Manaha and Buddhi. So, two functions of mind are said. What is this manas? This, the capacity to think. The body needs to be alive. It must have Sukshma Sharira. Otherwise, the physical brain without Sukshma Sharira can't do the job of thinking. So that means that there is one thing which is physical brain, which is part of which body? Physical body. The brain's capacity to think is what we call subtle. This is why when a person is declared dead, the physical brain is exactly as it is, but it has lost its capacity to think. So this is what it's part of Sukshma Sharira. You can't physically see it, but it is there. So that means it will make your mind function. What kind of mind? Two functions are mentioned, but we had mentioned four functions earlier. What? Your capacity to emote, emotion is part, and then cognitive capacities. So that is also part of your Sukshma Sharira. What else? Dashendriya. Which are the 10 indriyas? 5 sense organs and 5 organs of action. What are the 5 sense organs? There is one thing which is what we call physical eye. So I can see the physical eye of all of you, but there is one thing which is subtle about the eye, which is the sight, which I don't see. That is part of your subtle body. That means I can see your eyes, but I don't see how well you can see. That I can't see. Even our teacher used to always make fun. He says, even if you go to an ophthalmologist, suppose you go to an optician, forget ophthalmologist, right? Then you will want to get new glasses. What will they do? They'll keep putting different frames. And who has to decide that here I can see well? Only you have to decide. He will keep, and now, can you see okay? Then he'll take. And now, yeah, okay. And then, and now, like, what was the difference between the first and the third? Then this is what. But you only can tell. He has instruments, but who is the final one? He can't see your sight. Only you can know. This is why it is subtle. So that means the 5 organs, sense organs. What are the sense organs? eyes, ears, nose, touch and taste. So that means that they are all alike. That means the tongue can taste, Sukshma Sharira. The skin or the body can have a sensation of touch, Sukshma Sharira. Nose can smell, Sukshma Sharira. So this is what we call 5 sense or Jnanendriya and the 5 Karmendriya. There is one thing which is physical about the hand, but there is something which is even subtle. That means you can have a hand, but suppose you have attack, paralysis attack. What will happen? The hand will lose its ability to move. So this is what we call Karmendriya, which makes your hand move, which makes your leg walk, which makes your speech organ speak. That is subtle. Then procreation and excretion again. So that means there is a Sukshma Sharira which makes the body function in the universe. And through this functioning of the universe, you go through your experiences and pain and pleasure. So, that is also Bhoga Sadhanam, because without mind you also cannot have different experiences. Then how is it made? It is made from apanchikruta bhutaha. So that means this subtle body is also made from the 5 elements. Which are the 5 elements? The same 5 elements. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi. Okay. So space, air, water, fire and earth. Okay. Now, but what is the difference between the two? One is gross 5 elements and the other are subtle 5 elements. So therefore, what they say, how do you know that this subtle body is also made up of 5 elements? So in Atma Bodha, there is a given prakriya. What is the prakriya? It shows a certain relationship between the 5 elements and your senses. What is the relationship? That the water, now let's take Akasha. Akasha, the space, what attribute does Akasha have?
Sound.
Hearing.
Only sound, right? So that means there is no other attribute in space other than that in which the sound travels. So that means I produce a sound, it reaches you because it travels in space. Or there is a tabla instrument, right? So it is all, and inside is it's just space. And then what do? You play and it creates a sound. So that means the space has one attribute of sound, but you must have a sense organ to capture the sound. So what is that sense organ that is given to you to capture that sound? Hearing. So that means then you have the second one, Vayu. What is the characteristic of Vayu?
Taste. Taste.
Taste is not water. Touch. Exactly. The Vayu is touch. So that means the Vayu has this, and then what is your sense organ through which you can? Skin. So this is why I and Sunena were talking yesterday about the wind chill factor in New York. It is so cold. So what? Whatever wind it is, it will what? Whatever you are wearing, it will pierce through. I'm sure other countries are like that. But so this is what we call the Vayu has one thing. You can't see it, but you can. But you need a sense organ to have the touch. So this is where you see the correlationship between 5 elements and your senses. The third one, Agni. Agni is the first element which has form. Right? Akasha you can't see and air you can't see, but you can touch. So that means Agni has a form. Which is the sense organ that you have to see the form? Eyes. Then the fourth one, water. Taste. It's a neutral taste, and every other taste gets defined by the neutral taste of water. What is your sense organ through which you experience the taste? Tongue. She's an Ayurveda doctor. She will know the whole thing because the whole remedy is based on this model, right? And the fifth is what we call Prithvi, smell. What is your sense organ? Nose. So that means there is a certain correspondence. So this is the way you see. And then what it says is, what is mind? Mind has to capture all five, right? It cannot do only smell or only sound or only touch. It has to. So it is the combination of this Pancha Mahabhuta in subtle form combined forms the mind. So, 1 minute. So therefore, this wherever you see the form, there is what? Sthula Sharira, and then there is Sukshma Sharira. How has it come? Through your karmas. What kind of karma? Sanchita karma, which is what? The cause and effect, the adrishta phalam. Every action that you do, there can be a time lag between. There is one feedback that is given to you immediately, and the one is what? Later feedback. And that later feedback is what we call adrishta phalam. So that is all collected. In the meantime, till it fructifies, it is collected. Suppose it is not experienced during this lifetime, then what do? It gives you yet another body. That is what we call it. And what for? To go through the adrishta phalam will now in this lifetime will become drushta. You will go through experiences. And through this you will also experience what? Pleasures, pains, all of that. And that physical body comes along with subtle body. Subtle body includes what? 5 karmendriya, 5 organs of action, their capacities, not just the physical. The capacities of the sense organs, the mind and the prana. Prana which makes the body alive, digestion, circulation, and all of that. Okay? Stefan.
Is mind considered organ of action? It's not part of the 5.
So, no. So the organs, sense organs, it's only 5 senses. Then it is all processed. That's why manas and buddhi is explained separately and not as the senses. Yes.
Aren't emotions supposed to be included somewhere in this?
Yeah,
They're also subtle.
In manas. In manas. Remember when we did the mind, I did 4 functions. I did 4 functions of the mind, which is one is emotion, the other one is intellect, then the memory and the eye sense. So here in this verse they've explained the first 2. The first 2 in manas stands for emotions, and the second buddhi stands for the cognitive capacity.
And another question, I'm not so clear, why would you include circulation in the subtle bodies? You can see the blood circulating, or are you referring to the mechanism of circulation? The mechanism,
yes. Okay, now he will talk about, not now, I will not do it. Then he will talk about, there is one more, which is the connecting link. And that's when I will begin to then define what is jiva. So this is why you don't use these terms, because they are all result of lot of understanding. So you don't start using jiva. I had not yet talked about jiva, so now I will talk about jiva when I explain karma. So that's how you explain.
Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.